What's up, guys? This is Tony with Salt Strong, and I'm going to be showing you two different ways that you could rig up your soft plastics on weedless jig heads. Now, you typically think, okay, there's really only one way to do it, but there's really two different ways, and they will give your lure a completely different action, which I'm going to show you here in this video. Now, this is our Haas football weedless jig head. As you can see, the jig head is a football style jig head, and then we have our Haas weedless round eye jig head, which has that detail with the eye on there, and it's also a perfectly round mold for the jig head. Now, personally, I like to use the eye style if I'm using a baitfish profile, and then I like the football style if I'm using like a shrimp presentation. Also, this can work well for the tweaker or any type of stick bait style lure. And then baitfish style, again, I like to go with the jig head that has the eye on it. Now, when I rig my lures up on here, there's really two different ways. Even though it's one jig head, there's two different ways you can do this. The way I like to do it, especially if you're skipping lures with these jig heads, is to push that lure all the way up to the jig head. So you want it to go all the way up so that jig head doesn't wobble around. Now, to do this, you're going to want to put a little bit more meat onto the hook point than you usually would. So we'll go through the nose of the bait, make sure it's centered, go through underneath and come out, or go straight through and then come out underneath the lure. And I'll go about 1/4 of an inch down and then pop that hook point out, slide the lure up. And this is where you want to slide that lure all the way up to the jig head. So all the way up, pin that lure up to that jig head, and as you can see, that weight doesn't wobble around. And then we'll just skin hook that lure out of the back of the body, and then just barely skin hook that hook point, and that keeps it snagless and weedless. So that's one option. And then another option is you can keep that weight swinging. Let's say you're using something and you're keeping it on the bottom for a while and you want the current to sort of swing that lure around freely. That could be another option. So what you'll do is you'll go through the lure, and I'll usually go just up to just past the barb of the hook, and then out through the bottom of that lure, push it up, and then your lure should only go up to the eye of the hook. It's not going up to the weight, and it keeps that weight free. And again, that's going to be better if you're fishing in current and you're working your lure slow, keeping it on the bottom, and you want that lure to sort of move around in the current. That weight's going to pin it down, but that lure has the freedom to wiggle around and move. So those are just two quick ways to rig up lures or your soft plastics on these weedless jig heads. Hopefully that can help you out as far as rigging goes. And as always, make sure your lures are rigged up straight. You always want to check them after every cast, make sure they're rigged up properly so that you're getting the right presentation out of those lures. Now, if you're interested in any of these lures or jig heads that I mentioned in this video, you can pick them up at fishstrong.com. And keep in mind, if you're one of our insider members, you do get a great discount on all the products mentioned in this video, in addition to a variety of other products on the page. So definitely be sure to check that out. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them down below.